Right?
Except I can't really, no one's on there, so I can't say, can you hear the?
Oh, there's no one on the other end.
Oh, you know what? If you go down there, though, I'll see how this is moving.
Oh, okay.
Maybe just test it.
Testing, testing.
Is this too dangerous?
Maybe
I'll
if
just
you just sit
back
right
here.
there, then no one's gonna, go for that chair, obviously.
Okay.
So
Okay. All right. I think
cool.
Oh.
Hello.
Are you?
Good.
I'm Laura.
Hello, are you?
Okay, I talked to one of the chairs.
Okay, probably Jillian, maybe.
Maybe.
She just stepped down. Okay.
Yeah.
Mark.
Okay,
Nice to meet you.
Um,
Someone just dropped some material off here and said they were going to make an announcement.
oh, yeah, I
Hello, how's it going? Yeah.
In the preference.
Could you, yeah, like, okay.
Testing, testing, testing. Hello? Yeah.
No, I was here.
Thank you. That's okay. Yes.
know what? I can pick this up.
Yeah, it's all.
Because our table.
I know.
Hello, I think we're about ready to get started. Are we live streaming? Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. So just as a note, we are live streaming this presentation or this meeting. So those of you in the back, if you could just stay extra quiet so there's not like chatter and background noise for the broadcast, that would be really great. And the broadcast is live, but it will also be available on YouTube, I think within the next 24 hours or so. So if you want to relive this experience, you can watch it at home. I'm Jillian Cuellar. I'm the chair of the roundtable for at least another 30 minutes or so. And thanks for coming. I think we have a really great program today. I wanted to start with announcing the results of our election this past summer. Our new vice chair and chair-elect is Jasmine Jones. Our 3 new steering committee members are Martha O'Hara Conway, Daniel Weddington, and Caitlin Wells. I don't know if any of them, I think some of them are here, if you just want to raise your hand. Great, thank you, welcome. And I also wanted to thank Christine de Catanzaro, Gordon Dames, and Nathan Tallman for their service on the steering committee these last 2 years. And also to say that it's been a pleasure serving as your chair and your vice chair and working with everyone on the committee, so thank you. We had a request for an announcement from the chair of the technical subcommittee on guidelines for reappraisal and deaccessioning. They are going through a formal review of those guidelines right now, and the guidelines establish general steps, outline problems, and offer solutions for responsible and ethical reappraisal and deaccessioning decisions by archival repositories. These guidelines have been part of SAA standards since 2012, and this is their first review. So the technical subcommittee is seeking feedback, both positive and negative, from individuals working in all types of institutions. There are some handouts on the back table that has information about the guidelines and a series of questions that they'd like you to consider. And it has a link to the guidelines on SAA's website, as well as the email address of the chair of the committee. So if you would like to submit feedback, you can either email the chair, or you can make comments in the Google Doc, and there should be a link on that handout to the Google Doc. And the deadline for doing that is December 15th, so you have a little bit of time to do that if you'd like to. And also tomorrow, that subcommittee is going to present an overview of the guidelines, and they're going to have a Q&A session afterwards. It's tomorrow from 12:15 to 1:30 in room 23 if you're interested in attending. I don't know if our council liaison, Rachel Vatz, is here. She may not have arrived yet.
She's got another meeting going on right now.
Okay.
She has to make Christmas Sunday.
So she may be joining us later, and if she does, then we'll hear an update on council from her. With that said, are there any members that have announcements that they'd like to make to the group right now? Okay, great. So with that said, I just wanted to take a minute to discuss the CMTRT documentation portal. And the idea for this portal came up as a result of last year's breakout discussions and through various informal channels. In particular, there were a lot of members who were concerned about continued access to specifications and guides, especially for Archon and Archivist Toolkit. So in response to this, the steering committee conducted a survey in the winter that some of you may remember, and that was to gauge the needs and interests in aggregating documentation related to collection management tools. And the survey results clearly showed that members are interested in preserving and having access to manuals and guides that support everything from data migration to installing and setting up collection management tools. And though member needs seem to be very wide-ranging, the steering committee decided to begin at a very basic level by collecting any and all user-generated documentation and preserving and sharing it on our microsite. So we received a really good response to our call for submitting institution-based guides and manuals. Over 25 documents were submitted via Google Drive, and we used that initial collection to begin sketching out and building the documentation portal. And here is a screenshot of the portal, which I hope many of you have seen, and there's a link to it if you haven't yet seen it. If you visit our microsite on the SAA website, you'll find it there. This is the portal in its first iteration, and the site is organized by tool type, and each document has a short description to make it easier for you to discern if it has information that's going to be of use to you. As I said, this is merely the first iteration of the site, and over time, we hope to make the portal more robust. Some plans that the steering committee has discussed have included gathering more user-generated manuals and guides, of course, particularly for those tools that either aren't represented yet or that don't have much representation. We also like to gather any official public documentation that's been previously released by developers. We are working on developing guidelines for submissions to kind of standardized formats. We are also going to work on moving the documentations to Drupal, to the SAA's Drupal instance and off of Google Drive. So hopefully that'll provide a little more stability there. And then we'll also be adding information regarding additional resources like blogs or links to official sites so that members can find that information all in one place and a little more easy. And the goal, in the end, the portal has some pretty simple goals of promoting information exchanges among our membership, decreasing the need for institutions to start from scratch when implementing new tools, and potentially increasing consistency and standardization across institutions. The portal might be particularly useful for those of us that are using homegrown tools or tools that are no longer supported by a development team. So please note that the steering committee plans on putting out future calls for submissions. So if you weren't ready to contribute something this time around, you'll have a chance to do so in the future. And with that said, the steering committee plans on asking for your feedback throughout this process. If you have ideas for ways to improve the portal or have just any comments or questions, please let Matt and Jasmine know, or you can also post it through the listserv. And I thought I'd take a minute right now to see if anyone has any questions or comments that you'd like to raise with the group. So I don't know if anyone has anything they'd like to say. No, it's all crystal clear. Okay, well, great, that's good. That's what we were going for. Okay, well, I think that's it for our introductory part of the meeting. And I think now I'm going to hand it over to the new chair, Matt, who is going to facilitate presentations from members. And again, if Rachel comes in at some point, we might take a break to get an update from her on council activities. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. I'm Matt Brzezowski, the incoming chair of the Collection Management Tools Roundtable, and we look forward to another productive year. We've had a great year. I just want to say one more thing about the portal that I think is really great. That the idea for the portal came out of discussion at last year's SAA meeting among the roundtable membership, and you know, we as the roundtable leadership took that idea, discussed it in our initial phone meeting, and then decided to make that our primary agenda for the year. So at this meeting, we have a lot of presentations. There's not a lot of opportunity in our agenda this year to have discussion amongst ourselves. So any ideas that you guys have for what this roundtable should do in the upcoming year is, you know, don't be afraid to make your voice known, because it's your roundtable. And you know, as you can see, we had a great, now we have a great portal, a great resource that came out of membership discussion. So just wanted to emphasize that. You guys rock. So let's get started with the presentations. I was debating, should I introduce everybody one at a time before they get started, or introduce all at once? I think I'll go all at once. We have our first presenter, Andra Darlington from Getty Research Institute, and her presentation is DAOs for Mass Digitization. Mark Custer from Beneke Rare Book and Manuscript Library. Presentation is Excel and EAD. Linda Sellers from NCSU Special Collections. Presentation is Steady Spreadsheets to EAD. And finally, Gregory Weidman from the University of SUNY Albany. And his presentation is Managing Collections for Now through OpenXML. So I will turn the mic over to our first presenter.
Is there a hashtag for this roundtable?
No.
Okay.
Oh, can I just call to your attention? Somebody just tweeted that they can't see anything from this feed back here. When people are watching,
The
I wanna know if
screen.
there's any, they can't read the screen.
If that helps.
So they cannot see
They can't-
online, the people online cannot see
They
the
can't
video.
see the screen.
The text isn't coming through.
Text is not visible on the feed screen here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's hope the battery lasts.
Well, our council liaison, Rachel, just walked in, so I'm gonna ask her to come up and make her announcement.
It's not going to be perfect because of the angle, but we'll try.
Good afternoon. Good to see so many of you here. I'm Rachel Batts. I am the council liaison to this roundtable. I'm also a member. Just wanted to share with you a couple of things that were discussed in the last couple of days. Council's had 2 meetings on Monday and Tuesday, and to see if you have any questions, and also just to give you a little bit of an update. So one of the major things that we've had going on in council, after the New Orleans meeting, a task group or working group was set up to look at our component groups, our sections and our roundtables, and seeing the way that they're structured, and looking if there are ways that we would want to change that would work better for membership. And after the work of that group, then a council working group took their report and put it together into a proposal that was released about a week ago. It's available on the SA website, and it is available there for your comment through the 1st of September. So I would encourage you all to take a look at that proposal and make comments. Some of the major changes that would happen with that proposal is that sections and roundtables would become the same thing. They would just all be what we're calling affinity groups. You would have to be a member of SAA to be a member of that affinity group, and at least 4% of the total SAA membership would be, your group would have to be equivalent to 4% of the membership to continue as a group. Now that currently, with 6,200 members, that's 248, and nearly all of our roundtables and our sections already meet that number. So this is not like a lifting a barrier that you have to go out and start recruiting. Also, you as a member will be able to belong to as many affinity groups as you would like. And then we're also creating a second kind of organization, which is a virtual group. And a virtual group has a much lower, if 50 people come to the society and ask to start a virtual group, we would vote on that. It would allow members and non-SAA members to be a part of it. The society would provide a listserv, a microsite. It wouldn't have an annual meeting time slot, but would be a virtual group. So those are the primary aspects. I would encourage you to take a look at the full report and put comments on that, or send them into SAHQ, or give them to me or any other member of council. We would really like to hear what you think. And that can be, you can choose to do that as individuals, or if you as a roundtable feel strongly about it one way or the other, certainly feel like you can express a comment that way. A couple other things. In the education program, this committee has proposed a new arrangement and description tract that will be, it's kind of similar to the DAS. It will have certain courses prescribed. There'll be an opportunity to do some certification with that. The ANA list, lots of conversation this year. There are new terms of participation, and those have gone out. That is based on feedback for the terms that were created last year. And just to let you know that the council intends to kind of continue to assess the list and see how that's working. The Standards Committee made some changes this week. They have multiple subcommittees. I hope we all appreciate how much fantastic work the Standards Committee does for us as a profession, and on a very, very, very volunteer basis. We are very fortunate that within our profession, we're very good at giving. But so you may see now that what have been the EAD, the EAC, and the TSSDT have asked to merge back into one subcommittee. The NHPRC came and spoke to the council. They're working on a new strategic plan. I know Kathleen Williams is here, and I think Lucy Barber will be here later in the week. So if you see them, you may want to talk to them. They have a YouTube video that's out talking about kind of their thoughts for what their strategic plan may look like, and they're very interested in receiving feedback from people. And then finally, at the membership meeting on Saturday, there is a proposal in front of the membership that we would do a graduated over 3-year dues increase. It is primarily to help us grow our technology fund. We are in serious need of a new association membership software program. We're really struggling to meet the needs of our membership with our current system. We also have been increasing our advocacy efforts, and so partially that's what it is. In 2011, we passed a change to our bylaws to call for these sorts of votes to be by referendum of the membership. So this will be an online election that will happen this fall. The bylaws say that it takes place between 60 and 90 days after the membership meeting. So you will see this sometime between October 21st and November 20th. I would encourage you, if you have questions about the dues increase, to speak to any of us on council, to please come to the membership meeting no matter what. We look forward to seeing you there, and if you have questions and concerns, please share. Do you all have any questions for me? Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to represent your interests to council. You guys have an awesome steering committee. I enjoy getting to sit in on their calls and hear what all you are doing. So keep up your good work.
Okay, so I'm Andrew Darlington from the Getty Research Institute, which I will refer to as the GRI. And I'm going to talk about how we add DAOs to finding aids for mass digitization. I'm going to breeze through my slides, but I'll be happy to answer any questions at the end. And if I can't answer them, I will provide the email address of a coder who can. As most of you know, a DAO, or digital archival object, is an EAD linking element that connects a finding aid to electronic representations of the described material. Here is an EAD encoded DAO, and this is the same one in an online finding aid. This is what it looks like in Archivist Toolkit, and here it is in Archive Space. So now more about, that was just for those of you who might not work a lot with DAOs. At the GRI, we have a robust digitization program, and here I've listed some of our mass digitization projects, the archival projects in particular. I'm going to focus on the Julia Schulman Photography Archive as my example. It documents Schulman's 70-year career as an architectural photographer, and is one of our most heavily used collections. As you can see, we've digitized more than 50,000 images from the Schulman archive, and we use Ex Libris Rosetta as our digital preservation repository, and our primary discovery system for Rosetta is Ex Libris Primo. With its single search box, Primo is great for retrieving known items, but it is not great for browsing a large volume of digital content. The digitized photographs in the Schulman archive are grouped by Schulman's job numbers, and more than 5,000 Schulman jobs have been digitized, which means a Primo search for the Schulman digital collection retrieves more than 5,000 results. And with only 10 results per page, the collection can be pretty difficult to scroll through in Primo, which is why we wanted to add DAOs to our finding aids to facilitate browsing within the archival context. We currently use Archivist Toolkit to create and manage our finding aids, and we're in the testing phase with Archive Space. But we found that neither tool adequately facilitates DAO creation for mass digitization. In both systems, we can either create DAOs manually, one at a time, or ingest CSV files. Either way, we have to manually link each DAO to the corresponding component in the finding aid, which is fine for small projects, but very laborious for large projects with thousands of DAOs. So we needed a better way, and because we're in the process of transitioning from AT to A-Space, we didn't want a system-specific solution. So our senior software engineer, Josh Gomez, wrote a program that will add DAOs to existing EAD finding aids. The program reads an EAD file and a CSV file with digital object titles and URIs, or handles. For each handle in the CSV file, the program will search for a matching component in the EAD and insert a child DAO element. The process hinges on having a unique data element for each digital object that allows it to be matched with the corresponding EAD component. Ideally, we would use the component ref IDs, but in AT, the ref IDs are not persistent, so we've had to experiment with various other solutions. For Schulman, we used the job numbers. For other collections, we've used a specific combination of box and folder numbers or other data elements, or we have assigned unique identifiers. We hope that when we implement Archive Space, we will be able to use component ref IDs because they are persistent in A-Space. So now for the caveats. For this to work, we have to export EAD from Archivist Toolkit, add the DAOs, then re-ingest the version of the finding aid with the DAOs and replace the old version or merge the two. And for those of you who use AT or ASpace, you may already know that round-tripping EAD finding aids create some problems. At the GRI, our biggest problems with round-tripping in AT are that we lose the roles of linked names and our extents end up in a note field. I think other people have other issues that affect them more. But we have found that the benefits of DAO creation outweigh these issues. Also, if you round trip a finding aid that already has DAOs, you will create new duplicate DAOs when you re-import the finding aid. You can delete the duplicates, but of course it's extra work. So rather than multiple round trips, we prefer to either wait until digitization is complete before adding DAOs to a finding aid, or we add them one series at a time and only round trip the series with the new DAOs. I know you can't read this. It's just a glimpse of the code, which I somehow thought would be interesting. I'm not a coder. I can tell you that the program for creating DAOs uses Python to call out XSLT, and I'm not going to linger here, so moving on. This is a snippet of the Schulman finding aid with the DAOs that were added programmatically. And as you can see, it's much more browser-friendly than the Primo search results I showed you earlier. The finding aid provides context, so you know we are in the subseries of Schulman's photographs of case study houses, and specifically the houses designed by architect Pierre Koenig. And if you click the DAO link for the case study house number 22, it opens the Rosetta browser with 13 images, including the iconic girls as they're known. So I hope this all makes sense. If you're interested, the code is available on Stash, and here's the URL again. And I'm happy to answer questions later, and if I can't answer them, Josh probably can. As I said, he's not at SAA, but he did agree to answer email questions. Thanks.
Sorry, what is the screen option? Okay. Thanks. So my name is Mark Custer. There are a lot of great ways to migrate data from Excel spreadsheets into EAD, and a couple of years ago, I said to myself, me too. So I'm here just to demo yet another process to do that. No, just, and the way that I'm going to demo it to you today is I just have two screencasts, which I'm going to narrate over. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. There, I'll start this one. So in this case, we're going to be starting with an Excel spreadsheet. And it's here, you'll see it in the, probably can't read it, but it's the Griswold paper. So if I open that up in Excel, there's actually 55 different columns here, but you can just hide all of the columns you don't actually need to enter data into. So there's just 9 columns here. The first thing I want to point your attention to is that the way to create a hierarchy is to enter the numbers 1 through 12, and those correspond to the C01 through the C012, or C12 levels in EAD. This hierarchy is pretty flat. There's just 1s and 2s. So in this next row, I could add a 2 to add a sibling component, a 3 to add a child, or in this case, I could put a 1 here to add a series that would follow that. This finding aid is actually done in the container list, so I'm going to go ahead and just delete that row. The next thing I want to draw your attention to in the title section, and these actually work elsewhere as well, anything that you see highlighted in red here will be converted into EAD as a title element when the transformation takes place. Additionally, you can also put anything into bold, italics, etc., and those will be carried over with that proper formatting. You can also encode geographic names, person names, family names, etc., with this rainbow of different colors. But this particular finding name does not go to that level of encoding, so I'm not going to include that here. The next thing I want to draw your attention to are these two columns, which allow you to do date normalized values in your EAD. In this column here, if I try to type in Easter, if I spell it correctly, you'll see I get an error. And that's because there's some data constraints in this Excel file that says you can't just type in a value here. If you wanted to put Easter in, there's another column to do that. So instead, I could type in, if I want to normalize the date here, type in 1955, and that value will be accepted. Similarly, I can type in 55, and it'll be changed slightly to 0055. And that's just because it's wanting to do, it's trying to basically be ISO 8601 compliant. So this finding name, as I mentioned before, is actually done. So I want to actually convert it to EAD. To do that, there are two steps. The first step is to save this file not in Microsoft's Excel format. Let's just go to File, Save As, and I'll keep it in the same directory. And I'm going to change the file type down to XML Spreadsheet 2003. So this is Microsoft's special XML format for Excel documents. And if you look up here, you probably can't see it, but it's now saying it's .xml. The actual look and feel of this file has not changed a bit. So I can continue to edit it even though it's now an XML file without having to worry about the look and feel changing from what Excel from what it looked like previously. In this case, again, it's done, so I just need to convert it to EAD. So that was me just opening that XML file now in Oxygen. You could do this in many different ways, but I've already got a transformation scenario set up in Oxygen, which will just basically take this XML Excel file and convert it into EAD. And that's what the transformation is called, Excel to EAD. So I hit go, and very quickly, it creates an EAD file. Luckily, if you look in Oxygen, if you're familiar, you'll see in the upper right, the green means it's valid. There's no collection level information here. I just started with a description, a container list. So I'm just going to scroll down, and you'll see each row basically corresponds now to a component in the EAD file. And if I scroll down to the very bottom, you'll see this unit title. There was a biographical history of garden art, and that's now in a title tag since it was in red in the Excel document. And so there you go. That's the first demo of basically just taking an Excel file and converting it into an EAD file, which then would be ready for your finding aid delivery system, for archive space, access to memory, etc. Anything that would be able to ingest, in this case, EAD 2002. All right, so if I hit the play button here properly this time. All right, great. So now I'm in Oxygen again. In this case, I've exported 3 files from archive space. And if you look on the left-hand side, you'll see basically this directory up here. It's called EAD exports. And these are the 3 files that I've exported from archive space. I'm going to convert them all at once to an Excel format, just like the Excel format we were working with before. And I have just another transformation scenario set up called EAD to Excel. So I convert all 3. It takes a little bit of time. This is going in real time here that we recorded it. And once that's done, you'll have 3 new files on the left-hand side, all with Excel in the file name that you can then edit in Excel. So rather than open here in Oxygen, I will open it up in the new Explorer window and then open this file directly, this XML file directly in Excel. The first thing you'll notice is that instead of, no columns are hidden by default. That's just to show you your options. There's actually, I mentioned this before, but there are 55 columns, so there's a wide different, very many options you can actually put different values in. Again, you just hide any of the columns you don't need to add or edit data in. Then it goes all the way to DAOs as well. It's very simple for doing DAOs, so it's just a link and a title. It doesn't support anything else right now. All right, so there's a lot of different things you can do to edit. You can find and replace, etc. In this case, I'm just going to do a find for the word script because I happen to know that there's a lot of different components that happen to have the same exact unit title in this EAD file. I'm going to hone in on a few of those. You can see that these happen to be in rows 100 through 106. And I'm just navigating down to that section where they occur. These are the scripts here that I wanted to edit. And there's another feature I didn't mention before. So I mentioned the levels 1 through 12. There's also another feature that I just recently added called level 0. What level 0 allows you to do is to basically group components. So any preceding siblings after a component that has level equals 0 basically means I'm the same component. In this case, our encoding standards and our content standards and our tools like archive space don't force us to have different components for this type of level of description, but our finding aid delivery system in this case actually does, just because we happen to have different box values. But now I can update. I change all those 5 rows to level 0, and I'm going to basically just delete the value that's been repeated, because it's unnecessary. It's, according to DAX, do not repeat yourself. So this is the only edit I'm making to this finding aid. I click save. I kept it in Excel. I never needed to resave it as an Excel document. And now I'm opening up back in Oxygen. You don't actually need to open the file, but I'm just showing you what it looks like. I'm switching the transformation scenario to Excel to EAD. I hit the transformation button. Did I hit it again? Oh, yes, I did. All right. And then now 2 things I want to draw your attention to. Well, first, let me go back and I just again mention what just happened was I converted that Excel file to an EAD file. This EAD file at the collection level has all of the same collection level information that it originally had, and that's because I just pulled that from the file that's already existing in that directory. The next thing I want to point you to is that component that we just edited. So I've just done a way to search for this. I'm basically looking for any component that happens to have at least 4 unit dates. This one actually has 6, and that was the component we just edited. So there it is, the script, several drafts component, which was once 6 different components, has now been merged into a super component. Similarly, you can basically use different editing to normalize your dates or do anything else. And once again, it's back into a valid EAD file, which would be ready to import into ArchivesSpace, Atom, or whatever, what have you. And to follow up on what Andrew was mentioning, round tripping can be complicated, but hopefully these tools, basically anything that you can export from ArchivesSpace, in my opinion, should be able to be exported right back in. And so this was exported from ArchivesSpace, and it's actually not doing anything different than what it would do. So I think it actually would re-import okay. So that is yet another process to do EAD in Excel. Let them live happily side by side. I have my files up on GitHub, so I'd be very interested to hear any other feedback, bug reports, feature requests, etc. Either you can email me those, or you can just add an issue to that account as well. So, thank you.
Hi, I'm Linda Sellers. I'm head of technical services for special collections at North Carolina State University. And I'm here to tell you about STEADY, which has been around for a while, so probably some of you know about it and maybe you've seen it. STEADY is a tool to convert CSV to EAD. It's a Ruby on Rails application. It's available on the web as open source software, and I'll tell you where it is. It was developed by Jason Rinaldo in our digital library initiatives. Originally, when we started using Archivist Toolkit, and now he's updated it to work with ArchivesSpace. Our original, we first asked Jason to develop a tool for us to be able to import EAD CSVs into ArchivesSpace for lists that we receive with collections. I'm sure all of you, we get lists with collections all the time from donors, or if there's been an appraisal, the appraiser may make a list. It may be a Word doc or an Excel spreadsheet. We generally, and sometimes it's on paper taped to the boxes, but usually when that's the case, we're able to get an electronic version of it. And we also have staff working in offsite storage where they don't have a good internet connection, so they're able to create a spreadsheet on a laptop and then import it into ArchivesSpace when they get back to a networked computer. There is some editing. We generally, however the list comes to us, we put it in Excel. And then to use STEADY, you have to set it up in a particular format. With your CSV file has to have can use any of these headings, but these are the only headings you can use, and you have to do this for now. So it takes a little bit of work. This is a list that's ready to import, but it's a whole lot less work than entering every component directly into ArchiveSpace. This is the study user interface. The URL is up in the upper right-hand corner, and I'll show it to you again. All you do is you go to this URL, you enter your name, your email, your organization, you browse to your file and your CSV file and select it. And then right below where you selected the file are the updates for ArchiveSpace. First, you can check whether you want study to assign container IDs. And this was for, I'm not sure whether ArchiveSpace is still doing this, but for a while, if you imported, it was creating 2 separate instances for containers that were parent and child. And so study will assign the container ID so that that parent-child relationship is established for you and just have one instance without folder in the box. And then ArchiveSpace also requires you to have a collection level unit ID, extent, and dates, and so you can enter those on this screen. And then you just click on that blue upload and process button and wait for your EAD file to download, which shouldn't take long. And then in our case, we are using ArchiveSpace, so go to ArchiveSpace and create a new background job to import to EAD. And then again, you wait for your import, and hopefully it's successful. And then you have a resource record that you can, that has your container list in it. You can add your notes, or you can merge it into an existing resource record if you're adding to a collection. So here is the URL for the study user interface that's available for anybody to use. The code is on GitHub, and so you can look at it there. And Jason also suggested that I invite you to contact him if you have suggestions for making study work better for you, make it more useful, and particularly to make it more work better with ArchiveSpace. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Greg Reedman, and I am going to talk about how we at New Albany are managing our descriptive metadata in OpenXML. Most of the time when I tell people about what I'm doing, they ask, why aren't we using ArchiveSpace? So I thought I'd cover this, and I think it gives us a good background where we are. And one of the main reasons is that our department was early adopters to unstructured HTML finding aids in the 90s, which worked really well for a long period of time, but now we can't do much with them. So we've been finishing a very large conversion project to get them into EAD that's been taking a couple of years, and we're just wrapping that up now. We also have a local accession database, which is going to be a challenge to migrate that we don't want to focus on right now. Another thing I want to mention is that the ArchiveSpace membership fee is a little disproportionate to us. We're not a small archive, but we're sort of a medium-sized archive in a large institution. So it does fall a little disproportionate on us. That's not something we're necessarily complaining about. It needs a sustainable source of funding, and that seems like a decent way of doing it, but it does deserve mention as a reason why we're not going forward with that. And we can run it ourselves without the documentation, but there's still not a lot of public documentation out for automating a lot of processes like I'm going to talk to today. So, and another even more costly part of that would be to normalize our data and getting it into ArchiveSpace would be a significant cost as well. So we're not moving to archive space yet, and we're managing our metadata in open source tools. Now, I think this gives us a really good opportunity to look at our sort of metadata infrastructure and how our descriptive metadata is coming in and out of our archive, and who's accessing it and stuff like that, and developing our tools to sort of work around this infrastructure and sort of make it modular. So we're never going to be using the same tools to import or export or display or anything else. So the idea is to sort of have these orbit of tools around the central data model. And right now we're working with OpenXML, which is not a really great data model because it doesn't have a lot of data control. So we had to compete with that. But it does give us some control over how we're using our data. So this is a tool I created a year ago that we're using now to create our EAD files, because the most easiest way of controlling of your metadata is when you're creating it. It is a Python tool that reads and writes complete EAD finding aids from spreadsheets, and also creates a flat HTML access file. And the idea behind this was for sort of smaller institutions that didn't have any servers or basically weren't comfortable managing their descriptive metadata in anything else but Office tools. And it would give them an EAD file and an HTML file very simply. It's written in Python and it's compiled to C, so it'll run on any machine, Mac, PC, without any dependencies. It has a GUI, and it actually reads a template file, like an EAD you already have or a template. It'll match the new data that you put into that template to your tag usage and your attribute usage. And that part works pretty well. It works with all of the hierarchies and is pretty full, almost full EAD3 compatible. Now this has had successes and failures. It was the first large-scale developing project I did, so there's lots of bad code in it, and I'm still figuring out errors. And it took me a long time to develop, and that was sort of my own time last year before I took my current position. But that needs to be mentioned as well. But for us, it works really well because the spreadsheet template was based on the template we were already using. So it took no real implementation costs to train our students or other archivists to use, and it instantly creates standardized EAD, which is what we need right now. So we're exploring other options long term, but it works pretty well for us right now. But we also have to control working to do anything with this data. We have to actually constrain our EAD. So I wrote a Python rule-based validation tool called EAD Validator. And this is the same thing. It's an exe file, so it'll run on any machine. And it basically, all you do is you put this exe file in the same directory as a bunch of XML, EAD XML files, double-click it, and it just pops up an HTML file that gives you a report that lists every single issue that it has. And we have over 300 rules, and it mandates all the DAX rules that you can do relatively easily programmatically. It mandates ISO dates and things like that. And it's pretty simple. It does one, unlike EAD machine, it does one little simple thing, so it doesn't take that, didn't take that long to develop. And the cool thing about it is that we didn't have to standardize all of our data like we would have to another tool. A good example of that, this is our FizzDesk element, and we have a lot of legacy FizzDesk data. We have cubic feet data for most of our collection, but lots of random things that people like to describe in there. So what I did is I basically tiered it. We have an extent tag that has our control data, and anything else I threw in a FizzFacet tag. And that's not necessarily how these tags were meant to be used, and it's not really compatible with EAD3, but it really doesn't matter because it's controlled and consistent. So anytime we need to move that data onto something better, we can